There's a 42-foot sailboat on the American market this week for $55,000. Bruce Farr drew her. A new 31-footer costs 3 times that, and the 31-footer will sell first. The reason has nothing to do with the boats. I'm on the guest float at Squalicum Harbor this morning, in Bellingham, Washington, where the bay goes the color of wet slate about 10 minutes before it rains, and it always rains. 3 fingers over there's a 40-footer out of 1995, salt-dried white halfway up her mast, boot stripe soft at the waterline, a wind vane bolted to her transom that has actually been used. Her owner took her to Mexico and back twice. He's been asking $139,000 since April, and the phone doesn't ring. 40 minutes down the interstate, there's a dealer with a brand new 31-footer on a cradle under a row of flags. She'll be sold by Saturday. 30 years of saltwater on my hands, a lot of it offshore, and I'll tell you exactly what's happening in that gap. It isn't taste, it's financing. The new boat has a lender standing behind her and a dealer who'll take your trade. The 30-year-old boat has neither, so she sits. And every month she sits, she gets cheaper for the man who can think for himself. The man with the financing brochure won't frame it that way. He'll walk you around the new one and talk about the headroom, the drop-down transom, the payment that fits between your mortgage and the grandkids. What he never mentions is the laminate, the ballast ratio, the hardware sizing, or the fact that in 5 years, the boat under his hand will have surrendered close to half of what you're about to pay for her. So today, 6 sailboats built roughly 30 years ago that beat anything you can buy new for $200,000. I'll give you the price, the reason the market got it wrong, and the one bill hiding on each of them, because on a boat this age there is always one. Number 4 is the boat I've spent 16 videos treating as the enemy, and I'm going to defend it in front of you. Let's get into them. A brand new Beneteau Oceanus 30.1, the small end of the biggest production line in sailing, is listing right now between $148,500 and $195,000, with the average sitting around $180,000. She is the entire ceiling of what $200,000 buys you new in 2026. And by the time you've added a chart plotter, a bimini, ground tackle, and a dinghy, you're past it. Now the other side. That same money in the 90s fleet buys you 40-plus feet of solid hand-laid hull, encapsulated or properly bolted lead, oversized deck hardware, and a yard's worth of joinery that no production builder can afford to fit today. Standing rigging has a working life of about 10 to 15 years, and a re-rig on a 40-footer runs $6,000 to $10,000 with the stick-out. Subtract it before you make an offer and you'll never overpay for one of these. Which is a fine place to start at number 6, because number 6 doesn't have any. The Freedom 35. David Pedrick drew her. Tillotson and Pearson built her in Rhode Island, the same shed that turned out the J/boats we've picked apart on this channel. And the mast standing in her is a freestanding carbon spar with no wire on it at all. No shrouds, no stays, no chain plates working in a wet deck for 30 years. There's a 1997 example on the market in Anacortes, Washington, asking $55,000. The single biggest recurring bill in used sailing does not exist on that boat. Her bigger sister, the Gary Muldron Freedom 38, runs $45,000 to $99,900, with the average around $72,000, and she's the same trick in 38 feet. Where the money hides, the hull and deck are cored, so a moisture meter earns its fee here more than anywhere. The spar isn't maintenance-free either. The mast bearing and the partner where it passes through the deck want a proper look, and when carbon work is needed, it is specialist work at specialist rates. And when you sell her, your buyer pool is thin, because half this market flinches at anything unusual. That flinch is the discount. You're being paid to be curious. Number 5 is the one the racing crowd already knows about, and the cruising crowd walks straight past. The Tartan 372, drawn by Tim Jackett, built in Ohio. If you've been here a while, you'll remember we put the Tartan 3700 on the list for sailors over 55, at $95,000 and up. The 372 is the same yard, the same designer, 10 years earlier, and today she's asking $76,900 for a clean one and $125,900 for a loaded one. Long waterline, moderate displacement, a hull that goes to weather like she means it, and owners who run these to Bermuda. The money hides in two places, and they're the same two places every time on a boat from this decade. The deck is balsa cord, so the chain plates, the stanchion bases, and the mast step get the meter. And a great many of these are still standing on the wire they left the factory with, which is not a reason to walk away. It's $8,000 off the asking price, in writing, before you sign anything. You are not buying a 30-year-old boat. You're buying the last generation of American production sailing that was finished by hand. Now, number 4, and here's where I owe somebody an apology. The Beneteau First 42 S7, that's the far hull from the top of this video, with an interior Philippe Starck drew, built between 1994 and 1997. Right now on the American market, $59,500 in Florida, $75,000 in Texas, $79,000 in Maryland, $89,000 in Ohio, and the cheapest of the lots sitting in Virginia. 42 feet of far for the price of a new 28-foot day sailor. I have spent this entire channel using that badge as shorthand for the boat that drains you at the dock. And on the volume cruisers, I stand by every word. But the first line was never the volume line. The first line was the racing line, and Beneteau built it to be measured against people who keep score. A deep lead keel, a fair, fast hull, an interior somebody actually designed instead of assembling. And here's the part that matters most to you. The depreciation everybody sneers at already happened. It happened to a Frenchman in 1998. What's left is a big, quick, seaworthy boat trading at the flat part of a curve that fell 30 years ago. The honest half, because I promised it. She's cored above the waterline with a structural grid below, so keel bolts, grid bonding, and any grounding history get looked at hard, and I mean by somebody who'll crawl. A fair number of these went through charter, which means the gel coat is beautiful and the soft goods are used up. Price all of that in, and you still hold more sailboat for $80,000 than anybody at a boat show can hand you for $200. If this is the kind of number you'd rather hear before the survey than after it, do me a favor, tap that like button, then hit subscribe. I've got another one of these on the bench right now. Number 3 is the one you'll have to travel for. The Wauquiez Centurion 40S, out of the French yard Henri Wauquiez, founded in the 1960s, and sold into the Beneteau Group in 1997. Hand-laid hull, balsa cord deck with solid glass worked into the high-load areas, bulkheads bonded all the way around, rig loads carried into an internal grid of floors and stringers. The earlier Ed Dubois drawn Centurion 40, only 33 hulls between 1987 and 1993, is the one the people who know go quiet about. The catch is distribution. Practical Sailor put it plainly years ago. Wauquiez never had proper American representation, so most of these boats reached this country second-hand, carried over by owners who bought them in Europe, which means a 1993 40S surfaces on the American market at $149,000, and then there isn't another one for months. While comparable boats in Europe trade between about $122,000 and $161,000. Thin market cuts both ways. You'll fly to see her. You'll also buy her without 3 other people bidding. Number 2 is the opposite problem. You can find 15 of her by Thursday. The Island Packet 40. Bob Johnson drew her, built in Largo, Florida from 1993, 41.5 feet on deck, 12.11 of beam, 4'8" of draft, cutter-rigged, hand-laminated hull with the ballast down inside a full keel and no keel bolts to weep. Asking prices right now. $114,000 in Palmetto, $154,900 in Wisconsin, $159,000 in St. Augustine, $164,500 in Stewart, $169,900 in Jacksonville, $175,000 in Maine. Call it 120 to 175, and understand what that money is doing. It's buying you a boat that draws 4 feet 8 and still has 138 degrees of nothing to argue about underneath her. There's one in San Diego that had her standing rigging done in 2015 and her chain plates replaced by a sailmaker in 2019. And in between she went to Mexico, the Marquesas, Tahiti, the Tuamotus, and home by way of Hawaii. That's the boat. That's the whole argument. Now the honest flaw, and it's a real one. She is heavy and her sail plan is modest, so under 6 knots of true wind, you will be reaching for the key while lighter boats sail past you. She was drawn so that a couple in their 60s could carry a year of stores and sleep through the night. And number 1 is the boat 2 of the last 3 years of this channel have been quietly pointing at. The Passport 40. Robert Perry drew her. King Dragon Shipyard in Taiwan built her, 148 hulls between 1980 and 1991, and every one of them signed off by a shipwright who put his name to it. On the very first list I ever put out, number 2 was the Valiant 40, the boat that started the whole performance cruiser idea. Then we sat with the Islander Freeport, and I told you that layout was the rough sketch that led Perry to his masterpiece. This is the masterpiece. The Passport 40 is what happened when the man who drew the Valiant got another swing at it. Same idea, better executed, moderate beam, a hull that will hold 7 knots in a seaway and not beat the crew up doing it. And she asks between about $89,000 and $160,000. Hull number 148, the last one out of the shed, 1991, was listed at $114,900 in Jersey City, with fiberglass decks instead of teak and a Perkins under the sole. The honest part, she's the elder of this list, and plenty of these carry teak decks laid over the glass, which at this age is either freshly redone or it's the biggest number in the transaction. Find the one with glass decks. Look at the chain plates, the tankage, and the bronze. 148 boats exist. You don't shop for one. You wait for one. So what would I do with my own money? If I wanted to go cruising next season and never fight the boat, the Island Packet, 40 at 140, rig documented, and I'd spend the difference on a good wind vane and a year off instead of on a new boat's first oil change. If I wanted to sail well and be paid for having taste, the first 42 S7 at 75, a proper survey, a haul out, and I'd put 10,000 into sales and never apologize to anybody about the badge on the transom. And if it were my money, my back, and my last long boat, it's the Passport 40, and it isn't close. Glass decks, a documented rig, and I'd fly across the country to look at the right one. Because here's the whole thing in one line. This market prices a sailboat by her birth year, and on every boat I just named, the birth year is the only thing about her that's out of date. Next time we turn this around and stand on the other side of the sales desk, what $200,000 actually buys you brand new in 2026? The base boat, and the 4 options that quietly turn a $180,000 sticker into $240 before she's ever been wet. Until then, don't let a build year tell you what a sailboat is. Let the laminate tell you, and the ballast, and the receipts in the folder. Do that, and the boat you buy for the price of somebody's new 31-footer will carry you through the 3rd night of a passage without once asking to be reassured.